Cooperstown, New York. A place where every ballplayer hopes to one day be enshrined, an elite club of the greatest of the greats, the highest honor in all of baseball. But is every member of this exclusive Hall of Fame equal? Well, no. In today's video, we will be going over and ranking every letter A Hall of Famer. This corresponds with my Learn a Hall of Famer short series, and one will be done for each letter of the alphabet. But this won't just be a ranking, it will also be a tier list to help further give context about individual rankings, and to show players that are of similar caliber by grouping them into tiers. This tier list will be carried throughout the alphabet, so eventually I will be ranking every single MLB Hall of Famer in this one tier list. So an S tier A Hall of Famer is just an S tier Hall of Famer, not just an S tier letter A Hall of Famer. S tier is reserved for the greatest of all time. The top 10 to 15 players will be in there, give or take. A tier is for the well above average Hall of Famers, people who were incredible but not at that top 10 to 15 range. B tier is a slightly above average to an above average Hall of Famer. C tier is average. If you're in here, you're hovering around the average Hall of Famer. D tier is for below average Hall of Famers, guys who have a case for being in the Hall but are not up to the average standards. And F tier is reserved for the people who have just no business whatsoever being in the Hall of Fame. But that's enough explanation. Without further ado, let's jump into the list. Coming in last place and in the C tier, I have Richie Ashburn, center fielder for the Phillies, Cubs, and Mets. Now I know last place sounds bad, but this is a list of Hall of Famers, not just your average ball players. So they're already quite good, but this is to determine the best of the best. And someone had to come in last, and that is Richie Ashburn. Being in the C tier means that he is hovering around the average Hall of Famer, which matches perfectly with his Baseball Reference Hall of Fame stats. It was close to determine who would be last between him and, spoiler alert, Earl Averill, but I gave Averill the nod over Ashburn. And that's largely to do with Averill having a lead over Ashburn in WAR per game, OPS plus, and advanced on base average. But Ashburn is a decent Hall of Famer. He's the 12th best center fielder in MLB history according to Jaws. He has 3 200-hit seasons, and he has 7 seasons with at least 5 WAR. He just doesn't necessarily have an X factor or stand out in one category. 111 OPS plus, 64.3 WAR, and a 366 advanced on base average lands Richie Ashburn in the C tier. And coming in at the 8th spot and also in the C tier is Earl Averill, center fielder for the Indians, Tigers, and Braves. Now, if it wasn't for those advanced stats like OPS plus, advanced on base average, and WAR per game, Averill would definitely be last. He has the lowest total WAR out of all the letter A Hall of Famers, but thankfully we do have those advanced metrics. He has a 133 OPS plus, which is ahead of guys like Wade Boggs, Rod Carew, and Eddie Murray. He is 3rd amongst letter A Hall of Famers in advanced on base average and 5th in WAR per game. 33% of all his hits were for extra bases, but I just cannot rank him any higher with that low WAR total without insane efficiency. He has good efficiency, but we will see someone later on this list who also has low volume with much better efficiency. So Earl Averill joins Richie Ashburn in the C tier. Coming in 7th place and in the C tier is the man banned from baseball, Roberto Alomar, second baseman for the Padres, Blue Jays, Orioles, Indians, Mets, White Sox, and Diamondbacks. There's really nothing special about Alomar. He's just a good ball player. He is the 14th second baseman in MLB history according to Jaws, which is just below the average. His Hall of Fame stats put him at average as well. 67 WAR is good and deserving of a Hall of Fame spot, but it's nothing more than average when it comes to those Hall of Famers. 116 OPS plus, 2,724 hits, 1,134 RBIs, 1,508 runs, 210 home runs, 474 steals, and an 814 OPS and a flat 300 average. All those are incredible when compared to the average ball player, but this is a list of Hall of Famers and that lands him in just an average spot. Maybe slightly above average in some of those categories. But I just can't put him in B tier with none of his Hall of Fame stats standing out and Jaws putting him below average, so the C tier is where Roberto Alomar resides. Coming in 6th place and in the C tier is the defensive guru Luis Aparicio, shortstop for the White Sox, Orioles, and Red Sox. Strictly speaking offensively, Aparicio is dead last. But Aparicio has that X factor up his sleeve with his 6th all-time ranking in defensive WAR. Sure, his offense wasn't great, 82 OPS plus, the lowest WAR per game, advanced on base average, and batting average difference amongst the letter A Hall of Famers, but that 31.8 defensive WAR gives him a very good reason to be in the Hall of Fame. And I believe it puts him above Alomar, Averill, and Ashburn. Sorry, there's going to be a lot of alliteration in this video. His gray ink, black ink, and Hall of Fame standards are all below average, but his Hall of Fame monitor is well above average. I mean, it feels a little wrong to put the 6th best defender in MLB history according to defensive WAR in the average C tier, but his offense just was not that good. Almost every offensive category is below average except for steals, where he excelled, ranking 38th all time with 506 stolen bases. And in terms of volume, he was pretty good, over 2,600 hits and over 1,300 runs scored scored, I want very badly to put him in the B tier because his defense was anything but average, but I just cannot do it with those offensive stats. So I'm sorry, Louis, but the top of C tier is where you're gonna go. Coming in 5th place in our first B tier Hall of Famer is Luke Appling, shortstop for the White Sox. Now, Appling's stats will look similar to Alomar's, but Appling was just a step ahead of him in a lot of categories. That alone would not be enough to push him up a tier, but Appling has 19.1 defensive WAR, the X factor that kicks him into B tier. On top of having just 10.2 more WAR than Alomar, Appling has a higher advanced on base average and batting average difference by just 1 point, but that is still better. He is one of the most consistently good players in MLB history. He only had 2 seasons of over 100 games played and less than a 300 average. He also has a positive defensive WAR in all but 3 seasons. He is also the best Chicago White Sox player of all time according to wins above replacement. So with all of that combined, Luke Appling finds himself in the B tier. Coming in 4th place and also in the B tier is Dick Allen, a first and third baseman for the Phillies, Cardinals, Dodgers, White Sox, and Athletics. Now, Dick Allen might be one of the most underrated players in MLB history. This is the guy I was talking about earlier when I said we would see someone with low volume but great efficiency. At the time of his Hall of Fame induction, he had the highest OPS plus in history amongst non-members of the Hall of Fame that weren't active, cheaters, or 19th century players who didn't have enough volume. He has a higher OPS plus than Hank Aaron, who we will examine in a minute, Joe DiMaggio, and Willie Mays, which might be one of my favorite stats ever. His Hall of Fame stats won't blow you away, but his OPS plus and advanced on base average are on the same plane as some S tier Hall of Famers. He has a higher WAR per game at .0336 than Frank Thomas and Ken Griffey Jr. He has a very slightly worse batting average difference at a .032 than Willie Mays, who had a .037. The league average for his career was 262 and he bat 292. He averaged 33 home runs and 104 RBIs per season in his career. Now, his defense wasn't great and he didn't play a super long time, but his offense literally parallels with some of the greats in terms of efficiency. So I think I'll put him in B tier and call it even. Coming in 3rd place in our first A tier is Cap Anson, first baseman for the Rockford Forest Cities, Philadelphia Athletics, and Chicago White Stockings. He's arguably the sport's first superstar and he compiled a lot of stats over his 27-year career, which is tied for the all-time best. 94.4 WAR, 3,435 hits, and 2,075 RBIs. He leads all first basemen in MLB history in runs and hits while being second in RBIs. He is the 4th best first baseman in MLB history according to Jaws and the 3rd best according to WAR. His Hall of Fame metrics are well above average, with his black ink and gray ink being over double the average Hall of Famer. He has the 2nd most WAR per game, hits, runs, and RBIs, and the 3rd highest OPS plus amongst the letter A Hall of Famers. And he is first in the group in batting average difference. There really isn't any knocks on him. He had insane longevity with good efficiency over that time. He had good power and speed for his era, consistently leading the league in RBIs and getting double-digit steals, all while batting way over 300. The only reason he's not an S tier is because he doesn't have that top 10 to 15 in efficiency stats like OPS plus and advanced on base average. So the A tier is where Cap Anson will land. Moving on to our runner-up, in 2nd place in our first S tier Hall of Famer, Grover Cleveland Alexander, starting pitcher for the Phillies, Cubs, and Cardinals. Like I said earlier, the S tier is reserved for the top 10 to 15 players in MLB history. Maybe I'll get a little bit more or less lenient the further I go down the alphabet, but for now, Grover Cleveland Alexander will land in the S tier. 116.1 WAR, which is 5th all-time amongst pitchers, 135 ERA plus, which is 18th amongst Hall of Famers, 373 wins, which is tied for 3rd all-time. He had 6 straight seasons of a sub-2 ERA from 1915 to 1920. His Hall of Fame stats are even better than Cap Anson, who was an A tier Hall of Famer. He has the 2nd highest black ink score in MLB history amongst pitchers, just 20 points behind Walter Johnson. He has the 5th highest gray ink score of all time, the 4th highest Hall of Fame standard score of all time, and the 9th highest Hall of Fame monitor score of all time. He won 3 pitching triple crowns and technically 4 because in 1917 you needed to pitch at least 10 complete games in order to qualify for the ERA title. He, of course, did, and Fred Anderson did not, and despite Anderson having a lower ERA, according to the law of the day, Alexander was the Triple Crown winner. But anyway, Grover Alexander is one of the most dominant pitchers in MLB history, and he has done enough to be in the S tier and is the 2nd best letter A Hall of Famer. And coming in 1st place and in the S tier, this was an easy one to decide, the true home run king, Hammerin' Hank Henry Aaron. I mean, do I even need to explain my reasoning for this one? He is the most consistently powerful player in baseball history. He has 16 seasons of at least 30 home runs, which is tied for the most in MLB history with steroid user Alex Rodriguez. He is the all-time leader in runs batted in, total bases and extra base hits. He played in 23 seasons, and it's not like he ever had an age where he just fell off. He never had a single season in the single digits in home runs, a negative WAR season. He only had one season below a 100 OPS plus and only 3 seasons with less than 20 home runs. He has 17 seasons of 5+ WAR and 25 straight All-Star appearances, including all 4 years of the 2 All-Star game era, hence how he has 25 All-Star games and only 23 years in his career. For his Hall of Fame stats, he has the 2nd highest grading score in MLB history and the 3rd highest Hall of Fame monitor score in history. He is 5th all-time in WAR for position players and 7th all-time when you add in pitchers. He is 3rd amongst Hall of Fame right fielders in OPS+. He even had a 30-30 season in 1963, seemingly just for fun. From 1957 to 1971, which were his ages 23 to 37 seasons, he averaged per 162 games, 8.3 WAR, 115 runs, 194 hits, 40 home runs, 120 RBIs, a 314 average, a 959 OPS, 164 OPS plus, and a 429 advanced on base average. So yeah, I think it's safe to say that he's not only an S-tier Hall of Famer, but he is one of the greatest players in MLB history. There you have it, my ranking and tier list for the letter A Hall of Famers. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. And as always, thank you guys so much for coming to class. I've been Professor Baseball. You've been great. Here is your flag of the day. Leave your guess as to which country it could be in the comments down below, and I will see you next time.